Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, now I might get in a little trouble for saying this, but you can't really say anything nowadays without getting in a little trouble. But although it might not seem like it, now is a great time to be alive. I mean, in the history of the world, this is probably the greatest time to be alive because we don't have to forage for our food. Most people aren't working back-breaking jobs, and we have modern medicine that keeps us living longer. But despite how great of a time it is to be alive right now, ladies and gentlemen, I think that many people feel poor. We feel as if we don't have enough to live our best lives, and we feel that because we're lacking money, our happiness is limited. But I argue the reason we feel so poor has nothing to do with money. Life is about mindset, and with a slight change of mindset, you might see and discover that you're a lot richer than you actually think you are. So in this video, I want to challenge you to think a little bit differently because I think just with a slight change of mindset, you might see that you're a lot richer than you think you are. So here are 6 reasons why you feel so poor. Reason 1, you're taking everything for granted. When you look back 1,000 years ago, what are some of the biggest advancements that we've made as a species? Well, I think clean drinking water, indoor plumbing, and modern medicine. However, we don't often think about those things. We just take them for granted and say things like, I wish I had a Tesla, instead of, I have clean drinking water, or I wish I had more space, instead of, I have a roof over my head. We have this sense of entitlement where we only focus on the things that we don't have instead of appreciating the things that we do have. And so the first reason that you feel so poor is because you take everything for granted. But adjust your mindset to appreciate the things you do have. We need to stop acting like we're not fortunate because we drive a beat-up Honda or live in a small house, because the reality is 33% of the world doesn't have access to clean drinking water and 50% of the world doesn't have access to clean sanitation. If you have those things, you are among the richest in the world. So we need to stop focusing on all the things that we don't have and start appreciating the things that we do have, because we have a lot. We just take it all for granted and it makes us feel poor. Reason 2, you're choosing the wrong TV programs. When I was a kid, ladies and gentlemen, I remember when I would be watching TV and my mom would come in and she would say, Augustine, quit watching so much TV or you'll rot out your brain. And if you grew up in the time before Netflix and smartphones, I'm sure that your mother said something very similar to you. But when you look at society now, no one says this anymore. Now we do the opposite and we brag about something called binge watching. The average American watches 3 hours of TV a day, and when you watch that much TV a day, whatever program you choose to watch will subconsciously influence you on what to think and what to believe, and usually it is just superficial things that make you feel poor. And so the second reason that you feel so poor is because you're choosing the wrong TV programs. But adjust your mindset and guard what comes in your mind. Most TV programs just play off envy in this superficial. I mean, if you look at the Netflix top 10 right now, you'll see a show called Bling Empire New York, which is a show about very superficial people who live very superficial lives. And when you consume 3 hours a day of that type of content, it subconsciously makes you feel poor due to comparison. You'll just start to subconsciously compare your normal life to this very superficial life, and it will make you start to think that you're poor because you're not living up to what these other people are living up to. And in the era of binge watching, we need to guard what comes in our minds, because if we don't, it will just rot out our brains and feed us this false reality that will just make us feel poor. Reason 3, you're idolizing the wrong people. As somebody who's trying to make a living off of YouTube, I often look at other channels and try to understand why they're doing well, what's their appeal. And one channel that really baffles me is a channel called It's Daniel Mac, where all he does in every single video is go up to people with luxury cars and ask, "What do you do for a living?" That's it. That's all he does. And his channel has 1,628,118,946 views. Now let that sink in really quickly. Luxury cars plus what you do for a living equals 1.6 billion views. Now what does that say about us? I mean, the Dalai Lama's YouTube channel has 42 million views and has 200 more videos. So the third reason that you feel so poor is because you're idolizing the wrong people. But adjust your mindset and ask yourself what is important. We often idolize people who live in big houses and have luxury cars, and then we feel as if we're poor and don't amount to anything until we have these nice things too. And as I said before, we don't appreciate the things that we do have. We just take them for granted. And idolizing these type of people not only makes you feel poor, but it also makes you pursue this fake, superficial image of happiness. And all it does is make you feel empty and vacant inside. And I think that now more than ever, we need to take a long, hard look at our culture and ask ourselves, what is important? Because 1.6 billion views says a lot. Reason 4, you think wants are needs. You know, the cost of living now is a lot higher than it was 100 years ago. And that's partly because things cost more, but it's also because there's more to buy now. 100 years ago, outside of food and housing, there really just wasn't that much to buy. But now we have iPhones, dozens of subscription services, and a million things that we can spend our money on. And the problem that this has created is that we now say things like, I need the new iPhone, I need a new car, and if I don't have it, I'm poor. It's just a simple misunderstanding of the difference of wants and needs. And so the fourth reason that you feel so poor is because you think wants are needs. But adjust your mindset to know the difference between a want and a need. When you start thinking that you need the new iPhone, then your priorities get a little warped and you start to feel poor even though you have everything you need. I mean, if you have food, water, shelter, you might not have everything you want, but you have everything you need. And you're not poor because you can't afford the new iPhone, you just don't have any money. For once, there's a difference, you see? And if you can change your mindset and view wants not as a necessity, but as extra, then you will never feel poor because you understand that you have everything that you need. Reason 5, you think you can have it all. When I was in my early 20s, my parents encouraged me not to take things too seriously, not to rush into anything, and spend some time to get to know who I am. And my mom told me that when you're young, you have less money but more time. And when you're old, you have more money but less time. So make the most out of what you do have, because in life, you can't have it all. Anything you do or want comes with trade-offs. If you want nicer things, you will probably have to work more. If you want more time, you will probably make less money. If you want more control over your life, you will probably have more responsibilities. People often think that they can have it all. And when they don't have it all, then they feel poor because they're missing out on things or they're depriving themselves of something in life. And so the fifth reason that you feel so poor is you think you can have it all. But adjust your mindset to prioritize what you want. No matter what you do in life, there will always be a catch. You're never going to have a moment in life where you have no problems and all your problems go away. And if you think that you can have it all, then you'll probably feel forever poor. You need to prioritize what is important in your life and understand the trade-off for that. And I'm not here to tell you what's important or how to live your life, but everything in life comes with trade-offs. If you want more free time, then you probably can't have a big house and a nice car. And is that trade-off worth it? It's up for you to decide. Reason 6, you're simply not content. When you look at our society and our constant quest for more, you realize that it really just represents the lack of contentment that we have in our lives. I mean, when you really boil down why people want to live in mansions or have luxury cars or have an abundance of material possessions, it's because we think and we believe that those things will make us happier. We believe that consumption is what makes you rich. But it doesn't work, and it's just not true. And so the final reason that you feel so poor is because you're simply not content. But adjust your mindset to seek contentment through less. I don't know your life situation, but you might not be as poor as you think you are. You might just be seeking happiness in places where it can't be found and need to adjust your mindset a little bit. Because we feel poor, not necessarily because we lack money, but because we lack contentment. We're often taught to seek contentment through money, but once your basic needs are met, plus a little bit more, money can't do that much to increase your happiness. You have to find other ways to do it. And if you can figure out how to do that, it doesn't matter how much money you have because you will be the richest person on planet Earth. And with that, muchas gracias. Que tenga un buen día. Video 85. Nos vemos, chicos.